back. How how are we doing? How are we doing? Um, whoa. We've missed some time. Uh, this might be the most time we've gone in between uh creating a space that we can occupy together, and it's like I'm gonna take responsibility for that. I feel like a lot has happened over the last, I want to say, 2 weeks. First, I want to apologize for my voice. I'm at the tail end of what I think is happening in New York City. Um, and My voice is a little raspy. And if you hear me sniffle a little throughout this, it's because, yeah, it's been one of those times. I feel good outside of the fact that what you're hearing. But with that said, we're gonna power through this. This is something that we haven't done in a while, and admittedly, so I want to again apologize for that. But a lot has happened. I'm a year older. I celebrated my birthday 2 weekends ago, I think it was. Yeah, that's why I missed the first weekend, and the last weekend was because I just wasn't feeling well, and I'm almost where I think I need to be, and I feel good. My body feels good. Um, Mind feels good. I'm not the sharpest right now. My reaction time might be a little slow, so I'll try not to get in no fisticuffs. I'm not a fighter, so. But we're gonna start this how we always start this. An exercise in mindfulness. 10 breaths. Focus on your breath. I prefer your eyes to be closed. And we're going to start now. And like always, a good puzzle to get your mind going, having you feel sharp in the moment. And what I have for you today is what can you keep after giving it to someone? What can you keep after giving it to someone? As you think about that, I want to talk through what we're gonna talk about today. What is this conversation gonna be about? I think it's okay to say that, or it's safe to say that life is happening right now. Life is lifing, and as creatives, uh, as individuals who are living in their creativity, I think one of the things um, we might be conscious of that, especially if you're living in your creativity, the fact that how stressful it can be is if your livelihood is dependent on your ability to create, meaning you get paid off of your creativity directly. Um, the challenge with that is a lot of our creativity needs a runway, and it takes time, and there's some distance from the time it started to the time it actually takes off. And if your livelihood is dependent on that, there's pressures associated with that. Life still has to continue, and you still have to be able to support yourself and whoever it is within your reach or responsibility. And that can get tough sometimes because some of us just don't have that luxury to be able to wait for our creativity to uh, um, materialize or manifest, then materialize. But after materialization, to be able to turn into something tangible that is worth either being paid for or um, been approved for public consumption, in the sense that the public receives it and in exchange gives you back something in return that you can use to allow yourself to continue this creative thing that you got going on. And because of the pressure, because of all this, I think it has become more and more difficult for us as creatives to trust the process, especially when it feels like maybe some of our colleagues or counterparts are getting to I don't want to say success, but are able to reap the fruits of their labor sooner than you are. And I think if we add social media on top of that and this overexposure to everybody else, it sometimes feels like everybody else is achieving the things that you feel is in your path, but it's taking longer for you to achieve yourself. And it almost it almost feels as if though the right opportunity is just missing you, or you might get tempted to cheat the creative process in order to attain that success faster. And as much as I understand how alluring that may seem, I've never believed in the fact that you either have to compromise the creative process or compromise your integrity to be able to achieve those things. I think what's interesting is we've been led to believe that the creative process is this linear thing, and it's almost like procedural, this step by step. Hey, you do this, then this happens, and then when you do this, this happens, and you do this, and then this happens, and it happens within this particular timeline. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Creativity nor the creative process is linear. I've spoken several times how the erratic nature of creativity and the level of fluidity that is associated with it. Creativity can sometimes be a wave that is not even it's not even organized, right? You never know when it's going to be the wave that carries you over the hump, or whether it's just going to continue to be this ripple. How long does this ripple last, and when does it become a tsunami? And there's no timeline for it. And because of the unpredictable nature of it, I think a lot of us creatives, we get frustrated with the process. And we get frustrated with the time it takes. And I think beyond the fact that the time is longer than we would like it to be, I think because the pressures of life is also happening simultaneously, it almost feels like an added burden. And I think for a lot of us, it's tough to handle. And we seek like alternative or supplemental opportunities or situations to be able to help us like bridge the gap between us and our achievement, to keep us going. And those are opportunities. Well, one, it's like in exchange for what? And it's either, it almost feels like either you're going to compromise yourself or your work. And that is what's within the fine print of those opportunities. But I want to say this. I want to say that the process is the way it is for a reason. There's a reason why my process and my timeline is not yours. As much as it seems, as both creatives living in our creativity, that there is definitely some relation, there's definitely some correlation, and definitely some parallels in our journey. But my path is my path and yours is yours. And it is that way because, one, our experiences, our opportunities, our outcomes are intentionally different. And that's what makes us unique. And it is tough to continue to blindly. It's almost like delusional. The level of persistence it requires to just continue down this path and then trusting the creative process. And I think one of the things that I've learned in my own particular journey with this, or battle with this idea of like having these ideas and seeing your creativity manifest and come to life, and now there's this incubation period where it just takes forever. It almost feels like to get to the achievement part of it. One of the things that I've learned is I've had to sharpen or work on my ability to adapt, to be able to going back to the wave analogy, to be able to ride the wave as opposed to trying to go against it or fight it. I think a lot of times as creative, when we create, when we design, when we produce things, in our head, we've already envisioned the outcome. And we can be stubborn, and we are dead set on what we want it to be, what we want it to look like, and our intentions. And that's not necessarily how the universe might see it for us, and that might not necessarily be in our destiny, and maybe not in that particular way. It's not a case where I don't think it's a case where success will completely avoid you. I think it might not show up in the way that you think it should. There's a saying that I told God I had a plan and he laughed, right? And a similar analogy, the similar idea, it's just, you have to be able to, one, be comfortable with the idea of pivoting and adapting, to the fluid nature of your creativity. And I think when you are more receptive to this idea and then trust that, hey, this is organically happening, and I am being receptive to it and embracing this fluidity, knowing that I have a strong belief that the process is going to have my trust, and it will ultimately get me to achieve what I am deserving of. And that feels like a mouthful. I'm a reader. I guess I could call myself a reader. I don't know the technicalities when I consume a lot of my books through Audible, so audiobooks. But one of my favorite books, it is The Alchemist. And there's a saying that says, and I might be butchering this, but it says, if you want it bad enough, all the universe is going to conspire to make it happen. I'm a believer in that. I've never doubted myself, never doubted my destiny. I think my mother used to always say, I think it's a Latin phrase, que sera, sera. What will be, will be. And I cannot get in the way of that. But I can put in the universe what I would ultimately want to happen, and in hopes that it's in alignment with what the universe has planned for me, or what I'm destined for. And I'm going to work to achieve that. And a lot of the times I've found myself deviating, not intentionally, but organically, from original ideas. And where I see that most is in business, especially when it comes to like my startups. And if you've ever been involved in anything, in any creative journey, and understand that one of the most important characteristics of successful individuals, successful people, creative people who are building creative things is their ability to pivot and adapt to circumstances. And I think that is a part of trusting the process. I think when when we talk about the idea of trusting the creative process, it's almost like, hey, be stubborn and steadfast on this thing that is not working until it eventually works. And I don't think that's how I define it. I think I'm more like, hey, what is the mission here? What is the goal, right? If ultimately this thing is what you're trying to achieve, there's multiple ways to go about it. And it's less about fighting against resistance and more about how can I maneuver through these obstacles that are in front of me. And sometimes you stumble upon success. And I think that is a part of the process. That is a part of the journey. And oftentimes when you're maneuvering through these things, it allows you to take risk. And those risks can be extremely rewarding. And I think in those moments is when you hit the eureka moment. And it could be a little uncomfortable because these are spaces, especially if you have a planned out idea of what success is going to look like, where your creativity is going to take you, and then suddenly it doesn't look like that. It can be nerve wracking, right? It can be uncomfortable. But the reason I appreciate this uncomfortability is because it allows me to be okay with not being perfect. Because I'm learning in spaces that I am not expert in spaces that I'm unfamiliar in. That is where I have to, one, be more conscious of my senses, all 5 of them. I have to now focus on them on a more intimate level because this is now my best way to communicate. It's less about this forcing of one thing and more about, hey, let me be immersed in this change and then see what it's telling me and see if I can be guided by that. And I think for a lot of us, especially if we're in this incubation period, in this period where our creativity is still taking shape and taking form, and we're trying to figure out where do we fit amongst our peers, where do we fit in the spaces that we're currently occupying, like what exactly is my differentiator, what exactly is my thing, and am I onto something or am I off? Like, I need a sign to let me know that I'm on the right path. How do I know that I'm on the path that I'm destined for, right? Do I have to make a change? Do I make that change now? And for a lot of us creative, it's tough to stick to the process, the creative process, with not knowing or can't even see more than 2 steps ahead. And that's one of the challenges for us. And I think as we continue to see ourselves bounce back from adversity, or see ourselves showcase our resilience, I think we start to become more and more comfortable in the length of time it takes for us to be creative, or for our creativity actually manifest itself. The process can be, it can be tough to trust. I and how do you know when it's time to pivot, to walk away? I don't even want to use the word quit, but how do you know when it's time, or if it is time, or maybe it's a pause. And I don't know that it is ever going to be this huge glowing neon sign that says, hey, you're doing it wrong, or hey, go this way, or hey, go that way. Earlier I said this idea in these moments, I lean on my awareness and my relationship with my senses, because I've said this before too. If I have a deeper connection to my five senses, it helps me unlock my sixth sense, which is intuition. And as much as a creative, somebody who's living in their creativity, as much as I trust the creative process, it is more about allowing my intuition to guide me through that process, and my instincts to ultimately make those decisions for me in the moment, and trusting that throughout the process. And that's what I think most creatives do. And again, if it is meant to be, it will. And if success is at the end of this, when you do achieve it, you look back at the process and realize that everything happened for a reason. Hindsight is always 20/20, and there's never been a guarantee. But I always want to say, stay true to whatever your belief is. Stay true to ultimately giving, and the universe is there's always reciprocity. I always said creativity is a selfless act. Your purpose is a selfless act. If you remain unselfish to your creativity, ultimately the creative process is going to allow you to achieve a level of success that might not be exactly how you envisioned it, but it's going to be greater than whatever it is you envisioned. I'm going to end this how we started it, with our puzzle. It says, what can you keep after giving to someone? Your word. You can keep your word. And I kept my word. I was going to keep this going. And here we are, continue to move forward. Episode 22, if you're keeping track. As always, go be great.